put me to sleep, man.
Well, I got you. I'm
All
gonna
right, send me a better link for some background music.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
This yeah.
I guess I'll turn on this light. I don't really want the light on because my eyeballs hurt from eye exam, but that's fine. Ooh, yeah, you know what? Back to the darkness time. All right, all right. Where's that cyberpunk? Send it over.
There it is.
All right, hold on. Just a sec. We're ready to start for real. Just a sec. Hold on. All right. It's better to have a false start than no start.
Mm-hmm.
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 All right, let's see. Oh man. Okay. I'm feeling
Turn
it.
it down a little bit, and you're
Yeah.
doing pretty good.
All right. I'm feeling it. That's good. You're just trying to maintain the vibe since like
Mm-hmm.
you had to stop playing to do this podcast. That's what this is. That's why you suggested this music. You're just trying to keep the vibe going. All right.
Maybe.
That's fine. I can't play because I don't have a thumb. That's fine. Hmm. Anyways, all right. It's Friday. We're gonna do a vodcast. We're gonna talk about Pathfinder 2 tonight. We got Ursa Prime already in chat, who's been playing the heck out of some Pathfinder for the last 40 weeks. Pathfinder. Has it really been 40 weeks? What episode is Cyberpunk on?
I think we
30,
just had 36.
35, 36, right? We're not at 40 yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
not yet.
So, man. Okay. That means the year's almost over, right? No, that's crazy.
No, 50, that's 50. That's 50 something.
Yeah, okay. So the reason I said that we're 50 plus sessions in is you've run some sessions, some one shots. I have played in a couple of one shots. I've played 36 sessions of Pathfinder as a player, and I've run roughly 9 or 10 sessions as a GM. And I feel that kind of rounds us out around 50 plus sessions. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to start. Initial take for you. You've been watching the games.
Yeah.
You haven't been playing as much as I have, but you've been watching the games. What
Mm-hmm.
do you think of Pathfinder 2e?
I mean, through the one shots that I've run
Mm.
and watching it, I think my overall take is that I like the system.
Mm-hmm.
I like the specificity of the rules.
Ooh, I like
because,
that word. Okay.
like there's a lot of them. There's a lot of rules, and if you think about it, there's also a lot of rules in 5e.
There are.
5e's rules are very vague, and so
Yeah.
people decide to ignore. It's a community has decided to ignore a lot of them and just make the game your own. And
Yeah.
everybody's embraced that. And if you're not making your own, people think you're doing something wrong. Actually, most of the time.
Yeah.
With Pathfinder,
They're
because
like,
the rules are so
ew, you run it raw? That's disgusting. Gordon Ramsay shows up, it's raw, and everyone gets really
Yeah.
mad. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Whereas Pathfinder, the rules are very specific, and so everybody's like, okay, yeah, use the rules. A lot of people put a lot of work in these rules. You better use the rules.
Yeah.
But then Pathfinder itself, and I always say, it's called a game mastery guide, not the game mastery rulebook.
Yeah.
And in their first thing, they had the first rule saying, hey, if there's a rule that doesn't make it fun for you, get rid of it, change it if you need to. And the thing is that I feel like because the rules are so specific, the community and the stigma behind Pathfinder is like, hey, I can't. If there's something I don't like, I just have to suck it up. And I think as somebody who has just gotten to tabletops in the last maybe 5 years.
Yeah.
During right before the pandemic, and has started learning with 5e, came in fresh, and then in 4 years later started using Pathfinder. Both systems seems very similar to me. It's just a matter of one is more specific and one is more vague.
Okay.
And you may want that vagueness to not have to worry about thinking about it and just come up with what you want on the fly, instead of having the opportunity to feeling the need to look something up. And maybe that's just a preference, but I do like having the option to look something up and have it be there, and still having the agency to ignore it if I want to.
Okay. All right. I respect
Also,
that.
I do like the range of content that's in Pathfinder. Like their monsters are so cool. All the monsters that we've been running into.
Monsters are the coolest part of Pathfinder 2. Absolutely, hands down, the coolest part. Second coolest part, character creation options. Yes. Oh, thank you, Hugo. They're gonna appreciate that. Thank you very much. Inspiration for Sunset. Those are the top two things that they're bringing to the table, in my opinion. Incredible monster design, absolutely insane monster design, followed by character build options. But I have contentions towards that because I'm never happy with anything. And then the third thing that I think is these are the three strongest things. The third thing is the love they put into the world.
Yes.
This is a company that built a brand, and they love the brand, and they support the brand, and they'll die for that brand. They ain't about to whore it out. They're not about to compromise it. This is their thing. This is their baby. They love this. And there's more lore than I would ever want. There's so much lore. And I do find myself, during the Alkenstar prep streams, just going down these lore rabbit holes and just being absolutely blown away by the depth of lore that is available. So those are the top three things I think that they have going for them. What I want to address before we even go any further is a lot of people are like, Crash, which is better, 5e or Pathfinder 2? What do you like more, 5e or Pathfinder 2? Here's the thing. They're so different. They're so completely different. It's not fair to compare them. That's my take. They are so much more they're just so different than I gave them credit for when I first started learning the Pathfinder 2 system. I did what a lot of people do, where I wanted a familiar foundation to build off of. So everything I did in Pathfinder 2, I was like, well, this is just like Pathfinder 1, and this is just like 5e, and this is just like 3rd edition, and this is just like 4th edition D&D. But after you get past all that, and you start to experience it as a whole, it's not the same at all. It is a completely different product. It would be like comparing Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk, honestly, because they're that different. You know what I'm saying? One is this turn-based, strategy RPG with kind of a slower pace, and both of them have branching decision paths, and both of them, but Cyberpunk is different. You build your character different, you interact with the world differently. Everything is different, right? It's still an RPG, but it's different, right? They're just not even close. To me, I don't consider them close enough to even fairly compare them. Going back to what you said at the beginning, if I wanted a game that was loose and just focused on rolling some dice and telling a story and having some fun, if I was running a game IRL, I would just run in 5th edition D&D. If I wanted to run a one-shot with some homebrew mechanics, I would just use the skeleton that is 5e raw, and I would build a roll d20, get a high number game off of it. I would do what a lot of people do. I would throw all of the poorly designed, complicated rules out the window. I would take the core concept of, if you're doing well, roll 2 golf balls. If you're doing badly, roll 2 golf balls and take the bad number. And I would just kind of roll with it. And I think that 5th edition D&D, if you have a great dungeon master, is a great game. But I think that 5e is so heavily dependent on having a good game master, a good dungeon master, that a lot of people are not getting a good experience from 5e, or as good an experience as they could be getting from that game. You are, because of the vagueness of the rules and the vagueness of the system and the poor support of the system and the terrible design of the system, you're not going to get a great game if you don't have a great DM and by association a great group. Like it's so reliant on the human element because the game itself is so weak. Like, and I love D&D. I've been playing this since I was 13 years old, and I played every version of it, and I think that 5e has done wonders for the hobby, but like it ain't a good system. Like, it's not well designed, it's not equitable, it's not balanced. It's pretty bad. Like, but it can be very, very fun, but it's so reliant on having a good group and a good game master. You go over to Pathfinder, and like Pathfinder's rules are often, in my opinion, obtuse. And in many, many ways, I think they get in the way of creative play and communal storytelling. I do think that they are restrictive to a group's creativity. However, I feel that a group who is willing to put in the work to become comfortable with the rules and comfortable with the system will find that when they do things in Pathfinder, those things are going to feel well earned and well executed. Whereas everything cool that's ever happened in D&D normally comes down to, did the DM allow you to roll for it outside of the rules? Did he rule of cool it, or did they rule of cool it? And then did you roll high? Like, if you think about all of the coolest 5e stories, a lot of them come down to, I had this crazy idea, and the DM was like, try it, and I rolled a high number, and we all got really excited. That looseness, that freedom, that ambiguity, that allows, I think, for a much more creative space in like an improv theater kid kind of way. Whereas Pathfinder, everyone's like, no, you can't do that. You can do these things. Like, you built a character that can do these things really well. And this person built a character that could do those things really well. And this person built a character that could do those things very well. And you all need to work together to make this happen. Yeah.
That's the main reason why I say 5e is more vague and Pathfinder is more specific, because your character is a more specific character. Your character is a person who trained in the things they trained into, and that's the stuff that they know how to do.
Yeah.
Like, and if you want to be creative, you have to be creative in the sense that you made your character good at these things. If you wanted to be a little bit good at a lot of things, so that way you can have a little bit more flexibility, then you need to build your character that way. But yeah, I mean, Pathfinder is very specific. Like, you gotta have a specific role. You gotta have a specific concept. You gotta have a specific skills, and those skills have specific abilities those skills can do. And like, think about it, like, you know, the idea, like, I'm trained in intimidation. In 5e, you'll say, okay, can I try and intimidate with my eyes? Can I try and intimidate by making fun of? Can I try intimidating by lifting something up? Can I try and doing all these stuff? Whereas Pathfinder's like, okay, you're trained in intimidation. Okay, a person who's trained in intimidation can do these things.
Yeah.
You haven't practiced enough, and you're not skilled enough to do all the cool stuff yet because you haven't done it.
And
you're a level 1 character.
Yeah, you can't just say to your DM, like, I'm gonna mean mug him. So like, you know, it doesn't matter that he can't understand the words I'm saying to him because I'm gonna mean mug him. I'm gonna give him a real mean face. And in 5e, right, you'd be like, oh, that sounds pretty cool, Luigi mean mugging. Yeah, I like that. Go for it. But the DM is put on the spot. The DM has to say, well, yeah, I guess you could mean mug him. It doesn't say you can't mean mug him. I mean, he doesn't really understand what you're saying, but I guess he sort of understands your meaning. Pathfinder says, if they don't speak your fucking language, you got a -2 penalty. If you don't want the -2 penalty, you got to take a feat. And the feat is specifically for mean mugging. So, like,
And the idea is that, okay, my character is the type of person who wants to intimidate people. So I spent, I've worked on that in my life, becoming an adventurer, knowing how to mean mug people. And so that's why I can do it. Because, that's something I'm good at. And my character's good at it. If your character's not good at it, I mean, your character's not good at it. I mean, that's okay.
Another thing that I notice, like, right away is the design for teamwork in 5e versus the design for teamwork in Pathfinder 2. In D&D, your fucking familiar could help you pick a lock, right? Because according to the raw rules, help action, anybody can help anybody do anything and they have advantage, right? Guidance out the wazoo with the plus 1d4. Advantage from a million different sources. Tons of ways to get expertise. And everybody is rolling for everything. Like, a popular house rule is to tell the group, you can't all roll for this. Only one of you can roll for this. Or only two of you can roll for this. Or you have to be trained to roll for it. Pathfinder, the math is so punishing, and I don't mean that in a bad way, and so strict and so tight that I'm like, yeah, fucking roll. I don't care. Like, roll away. You're not going to make the check if you're not, like, an expert at this. You're not going to make the check if you're not legendary at this. But I don't care if you roll the dice. Roll as many fucking dice as you want. Like, because the game already took care of that, right? Yeah. But in 5e, Ragnar the Barbarian with 3 intelligence, he gets a nat 20 on his history check. Meanwhile, the Wizrobe fails his history check, even though he's traded history. He doesn't know about this ancient artifact. Ragnar does know about it, and now there's this, like, that's weird, LOL. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just weird, right? Like, it's just lazy design. It's like, I'll just slap a guidance on there. I'll just hold your hand while you do a thing that I know nothing about, and now you have advantage to it. Over there in Pathfinder, the teamwork is, like, baked in. And this is my theory on why this is. 5e had no roadmap. The only guiding principle of designing 5th edition D&D was to make it unrecognizable from 4th edition D&D. That was the only guiding principle of them making that game, was we have to distance ourselves from 4th edition D&D as much as possible, or we're never going to sell another book again. That was it. There was no, like, thought beyond, we'll just throw everything in there that they want to get them to come play Dungeons & Dragons again. It's sad. It's lazy, and it's sad. Over in Pathfinder 2, you are not just building a character, you are building a party. You could make the coolest character in the world, but if the other 3 or 4 people in the group do not make characters that work with your character and work with each other's characters, you will fail. You have to, at the skeleton, at the core of everything, you have to work together. You have to talk about your builds. You have to talk about your character concepts. You have to talk about party roles and who's going to handle what. It is not how cool is your character, it's how cool is the entire adventuring party. It's like Voltron. Yeah. If any part of Voltron is not there, or any part of Voltron sucks, Voltron sucks. But, like, in D&D, anybody could show up and roll big numbers and do well. Anybody could take a dip into a class to get healing word, and you never need to worry about healing ever again.
You're playing the Crash game.
Yeah. Right? So, like, that is crazy to me. That, like, that's how lazy, like, 5e was designed. Like, there was just... This is just my take. But it just feels like there was nothing in there that like shows that they had a goal. And Matt Colville talks about this when he shows you the equipment section of the player's handbook for 5e. And he says, have you ever used a 10-foot pole? Like, do you ever track your rations? Have you ever needed to know the different types of lanterns in your game? Like, are these things that they do in 5th edition D&D? He's like, 5e had no design goal. It had no goal. It didn't know what it wanted to be, so in the end, it is nothing. It's nothing. And, like, it's very mean, right? Like, to say that, but it's very true. And that same aimlessness is what makes it such a great system for building one-shots and homebrews and things like that. Because it didn't have it doesn't have its own identity. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
And because of that, it makes it really easy to make whatever story you need to make inside that system.
Yeah, like I'll fight anybody that says, "Oh, I can't believe it." Another person says, "I want to run this kind of game. I'm just going to use 5e to do it." Of course they are. It's a super. Yeah. It's at its core. It's a very vague, very base system. Like it's not hard to modify it and change it because it has no identity of its own. If I try to change Pathfinder, I will break it. It's like taking a piece out of my car and being like, I hope this isn't important. You know, like, there's a lot going on there because everything they did was with a goal in mind. There was a goal in mind. They said, what sort of experience are we trying to create? They didn't just say, let's make a game that people will buy. Right? They were like, we want to make an experience and have rules that support that experience. That's what we want. We want a game where the players and the GM can feel comfortable and confident that if they follow the rules, the game will work. And that if the DM or the GM doesn't feel comfortable making shit up, they never have to. Because there is a rule for everything. They can say no to their best friends and have us backing them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've said no so much in Alkenstar, and I'm sure the players are not liking it very much. But, like, I feel 100% justified when I say no, because I say, there's rules for this. This is what you are able to do right now within the rules, right? But, like, my games, like both my Alkenstar games, those are 5e players, and they're coming in there, and they're like, so, okay, hear me out, right? Hear me out. I don't have any of the skills that you want. I don't have anything. I don't have any of the things that you need, Crash. You know what I'm saying? My character, I don't know what I was thinking. I made this character, they fucking can't do anything that I want to do. So how about I just do it anyways? You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know, I'll roll some D20s, look at a high number. And I'm like, you can't do that because you don't know how to do that. You didn't build your character that way. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, like, I could just feel, like, the frustration. Because, you know, well, what the fuck? Crash always lets us do cool things. If we say we're doing cool things, like the power of God and anime and friendship carries us through. And I'm like, but that's not what we're doing. We're playing Pathfinder. We're going to honor the game that we're playing. We're going to follow the rules. We're going to do that.
In those situations, what I'm looking for is for you to, like, you built your character, so come up with a solution that your characters can do.
Yeah. Like, you don't have the entire Lego store at your disposal. You have the Lego kit that you picked out. Build me something with those Legos. And if you embrace that, if you view it as a challenge, as a puzzle to solve, it is so satisfying when you finally make it work. Like, as a player, I picked Summoner because it was the most complicated thing I could play, and I wanted to challenge myself. And at low levels, I felt like a fucking god. I could do it all, baby. I could cast spells, I could melee, I could do it all. I could tank, I could heal, everything. It starts to fall off, like that class, because all of the Gish classes struggle to kind of keep up with the more dedicated classes. So now, for the last few weeks, I've really had to think hard. Like, how can I still contribute? How can I still be a part of this team? And I've had to shift, like, my playstyle to be very, very much support. Support doesn't just mean dropping a healing word when somebody's down. It means creating every possible opportunity for the others to do well. You know, creating flanking opportunities, creating prone status so that everybody can get their opportunity attacks, giving a +1 here and a +2 there. And when it's appropriate, dropping some DPS to help, help clear out monsters or burn down HP.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to be so aware of everything that's happening in the game. I am so engaged when I'm a player in Pathfinder, because it's not just roll 2 dice, take big number. You know, there's so much more to it than that. And God forbid it's not cast spell win game, which is higher level D&D. You know, like the magic system is so fucking terrible in Pathfinder, in so much as it's not broken. Like, I think, and I've been playing a spellcaster since, level 1, so 36 sessions as a spellcaster. I plan to play a spellcaster in the next campaign that goes 11 to 20. I'm going to play a sorcerer, full spellcaster. I'm okay with not being a living god that can just break every encounter. I'm happy that the spell system does not allow me to ruin the game. I talk about this a lot when we talk about D&D, that, like, you think that you're so cool because you cast Hypnotic Pattern and just shut down the fight. Maybe the other 4 people at the table wanted to, I don't know, have a fucking encounter? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, You think you're so cool because you banished the boss. Okay, well, maybe the other 4 people at the table and the DM were kind of excited about having a boss fight. You know what I mean? And you say, well, I'm just doing what the game lets me do. I didn't make the game. I just use the spells. It's silly for me not to use the spells they gave me. Why wouldn't I use them? And that's why we have all these fucking house rules where, like, legendary resistances, paragon monsters, spell resistance, counterspell rules. Like, we have to come up with all these ways that people can still, hear me out, play the game. We had to come up with a whole world patch document, not to clarify rules, but to actually let people continue to play the game. Because that's how broken the 5e magic system is. It's so broken that one player can just remove everyone's fun from the table. And no one wants to think of it that way. But that's what's happening. Like, if I showed up for dinner and I took all of the food and I threw it in the trash, we couldn't have dinner anymore. But I would be like, look at that, man, I already cleaned up dinner for you. And it's like, yeah, but we didn't even get to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was kind of looking forward to eating. I cooked all this food. I set the table. And then you just swept it all to the trash. Like, am I supposed to congratulate you? You know what I'm saying? Like, and the players that cling to this powerful magic system, like, that they can't stand the idea that they weren't ever creative. You weren't creative. You didn't creatively solve a fucking problem. You hit the easy button and you ended the fight. You were not smart. Banishing a boss, that's not smart. Anyone would banish the fucking boss. Of course you banish the fucking boss. Like, Hypnotic Pattern into a big crowd of people? Stunning move. I never would have thought to use it that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want to hear that the system is broken. They don't want to hear that spellcasters are overpowered. They say, we'll make everybody else stronger. That doesn't change the fact that you can still end an encounter in 1 round. And then no one gets to have an encounter. Like, over in Pathfinder, I've got spells where I am overjoyed if a monster actually fails the saving throw. Like, I can't believe it. If they critically fail, I feel like I won the fucking lottery. And I'm not banishing them to another dimension. I'm giving them a -4 to their armor class. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's that dramatic, the difference between the two magic systems.
I've always said that the best fix you can give to 5e is rebalance the spells. Like, the problem with spellcasters is not spellcasters and spellcasting classes, it's just spells. The spells themselves, not necessarily the casters. Like, wizard is not bad, it's not overpowered. Spells that the wizard has access to are a lot of them are overpowered.
If they were not overpowered, why did Larian nerf all of them? They nerfed them because they wanted you to, get ready, play the game. They wanted you to play the game.
And they also didn't want NPCs using it on you.
Yeah, they didn't want you to.
Then you wouldn't be playing the game.
You're not playing the game, right? It's bad design. It's bad design to have anything that ends the game. It's just stupid. If there was a space in Monopoly that if you land on that space, the game is over. What? But why? We know instinctively, well, that's dumb. But yet, we're playing 5e week after week, year after year, and we're like, oh, well, I guess, fuck me. The boss got polymorphed. Guess that's the end. Oh, well. I
mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've done it before. With in Mythic when we ran into that goldfish.
Okay, but the goldfish had no legendary resistance, no spell resistance or anything. It was just all right, turn me into a fucking goldfish. Like I as the DM had to go in and design, right, these encounters, and some of the encounters I design, I want you to cheese them so that you can have that feeling, right? So that when I deny that in a fight that actually matters, right? A dramatic boss fight that the story is hinging on, we don't want that guy turned into a turtle. Do you know what I'm saying? We want to have a cool fight, right? But there do need, to respect the lazy design of the system and the spells that you have access to. Yeah, there should be some really tough monsters that you can just polymorph them out of the picture. That's fine. But think of that, right? All of the design work, all of the fixing and the patching and the modding that we have to do to make 5e exciting, to make 5e more than just who won initiative, who banishes who hypnotic patterns, who casts sleep at low level. Over and over and over again, triviality. Why are you even playing? Right? If you're just gonna cheese everything, why are you even playing? Pathfinder, everything we do, it feels earned. It feels earned. And when we have a fight against bullshit monsters and we just completely wreck them, I never feel like I wasted my time running that encounter, and I never feel like I wasted my time playing that encounter. In 5e, if I have a throwaway fight, I don't feel strong. I know I'm strong. I'm a 5th edition D&D character. I don't need to fight weak monsters to be reminded how fucking strong I am. I don't need that. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm strong. Why are you wasting my time? Let's move on to some cool shit. In Pathfinder, I am so worn out from fighting a +2 monster or a +3 monster that when you give me monsters of my level, or God forbid, a level below me, I want that encounter. I want to savor every moment of it. I want to remember what it feels like to not have to struggle, to not have to puzzle out every single fight. And I'm still engaged, even in these, even in those fights. And it's just such a difference. It's such a difference. So I don't know. All right, let's check.
Somebody said, I remember talking to one person. They called Pathfinder TTT RPG.
Okay.
Tabletop tactical RPG.
Tactical, absolutely. Throw that extra T in there for sure.
Yeah.
Let's check chat. Let's see. Carrot says 4 wizards in D&D overpowered, 4 wizards in Pathfinder dead. yeah, pretty much. Pretty
Well, no,
much.
I will say the game, the system is their character creation is so well done with options that you probably can make a party of 4 wizards. They'll all be different enough and could probably support each other.
Yeah, yeah. If
It'll probably be
you
hard.
allow free archetypes, if you allow the free archetype rule, I feel like
Yeah.
my love of Pathfinder 2 hinges on free archetype. If they took free archetype away, I don't think I would enjoy it nearly as much. I think free archetype is the secret sauce, absolutely, of that game. Because, yeah, 1 wizard, field medic. 1 wizard, multi-classed into cleric. 1 wizard, multi-classed into bard. 1 wizard, multi-classed into champion. You know what I'm saying? Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking, right? Adam says, not enough rules to be a good rule set. Too many rules to be rules light. Ooh, well said, Adam. Well said. 5e. Not enough rules to be a good rule set. Too many rules to be rules light. I would agree with that. I mean, they boast about being beginner friendly, but it's definitely not. You know? It's definitely not.
I think the core of 5e is beginner friendly. The content is not.
Right. Let's see. We've got Tussless knockdown and smash. Well, yes, that's the good stuff. Let's see. Adam says, playing a champion is super engaging since half your turn happens not on your turn. Yes. Champion, a lot of people have told me they feel champion is more OP than fighter. I don't know if I'm ever gonna, I'm not going to be swayed on that one. They are very strong, though. They are very strong.
On the defensive side, yes, because their reaction that makes you take a resistance to the damage of attack, it's all you get the resistance to all damage. So if the attack has like different damage types, you get the same resistance to each of those damage types.
Oh no. Champion very strong.
It's crazy.
Champion needs the balance of the GM enforcing their oath or tenant or whatever the fuck it is they're supposed to be following. If the GM is not enforcing that, then it is disproportionately powerful compared to other classes. The idea is you have to do more, but you get more, whereas another class doesn't have to do all that, so they get less. That's an old school, like 2nd edition, 1st edition D&D design philosophy, where you have to put in the work. You have to be somebody's bitch. You have to, follow the rules, extra rules, to get those extra abilities. If the GM is being lazy and not following that, then, yeah, Champion's fantastic. It's kind of like being a cleric or a warlock or a paladin in 5e, where the company straight up said, no, you can't take these things away from the players. Everyone's entitled to these things, even if they spit in their patron's face, even if they shit in God's mouth. They still get all their spells and their abilities and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, what a terrible take. What a terrible decision to go out and say that publicly. But in the effort of trying to create the most opening and welcome and safe place they possibly could, they just diminish any opportunity to add class identity, drama, or anything meaningful to their game. Whereas Pathfinder somehow manages to make everybody who worries about inclusion happy, while also being very strict. And I think that again, is a sign of very strong design. Like, like, they don't have to compromise their system to make people happy. Like, they built a good system that is strict, but also they have inclusion as part of their design. Like, it's just better. Like, all right. So we've got, let's see. Hey, heads up. There's a living god class now called Exemplar. I have heard about it. Everyone's like, it's the anime protagonist class. I mean, here's my
5e class.
No. It's for Pathfinder. Here's my take. Here's my take on Exemplar and all these extra classes they're fucking adding. I don't think they got all of their classes right, so I don't think that they should be adding more classes until they get the class balance fixed on the classes they already have. I think it's very irresponsible of Paizo to release more classes when there are obvious issues with existing classes. When you have witches and oracles and fighters completely unbalanced and inequitable to the other classes. I don't think you should be making more classes. I think you should be fixing those classes. And maybe they're going to fix it in the revised rules. But I just think that they're being irresponsible, making new classes when the existing classes still need so much work. That's my hot take, I guess, on their class. Bloat is almost how I feel about it. Let's see.
I will say on that. A lot of times, the people who are working on balance are not the same people working on new class design. So,
yeah.
It's most likely that if they are working on it with revised rules, those people aren't the same people who are making new classes.
And they want to make money, and they want to they got to make money. They got to pay the bills. They want to sell books. They want to keep people excited and interested in the game.
And as a person who works in a lot of like creative team worked project stuff, throwing more people at it to work on a design to fix something, that doesn't help.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think they need. I don't think they need all these new classes. I think they needed to just fix the classes they already had. So then, let's see. Adam says, we ended an encounter with Resilient Sphere in Pathfinder 2E, but we were trying to run away, so it was all fine. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening. Let's see. Some of those spells still exist, but are locked behind either incapacitation trait or uncommon rare tags. So, in our 5e homebrew, we have Paragon monsters that evolved from the Giphy Glyph rules. And those monsters, I feel, are at a point that I'm very happy with. They can remove any stats effect from themselves by taking a shitload of damage. They can just pass a saving throw without rolling it if they take a shitload of damage. They get extra action economy to sort of give them more, of a chance to do things. Yeah, more presence in the fight. The Pathfinder raw equivalent of that is that some bosses are just better at avoiding death effects and incapacitation effects. So, I mean, that's nice. They also mentioned...
it works both. Keep in mind that incapacitated effect works both ways. So, if you're higher level than a monster, you cannot just get killed by a death. Like, if you're high enough level and you run into, I don't know if there's a 5e equivalent of like a Demilich that does that howl that just takes you to 0.
Oh, there definitely is. Yeah, there definitely is.
So, if you're high enough level to that thing, maybe you won't. If you're one level higher than it, you don't get insta-gib by just rolling bad.
Let's see.
I think it's good.
Other people are mentioning ways that they cheesed 5e encounters. Laramis Lamal says attrition is the way. Let's see. In a way, it kind of is. A lot of these Pathfinder fights, they go long. There's no 2 rounds and the fucking encounter's over. It's 8-9 rounds, easy.
Yeah.
And
I contribute that to the 3 action economy being so free, flexible but restrictive.
Yeah, and it goes fast. I feel like my 5e players didn't believe me at first. I was like, once you accept that you can't do all the fucking things in one round, and you understand what you can do in a round, your turn's going to come back around in 5 minutes tops. And people have been saying I can't even go get a drink or a sandwich or anything because I'm used to having 10, 15, 20 minutes between turns. But in Pathfinder they go quick. They go real quick. Because you can't do a lot in your turn. People are like, 3 action economy, I can do anything. And it's the same idea of in Pathfinder, you could build any character. It's yes, but you can do anything, but you can't do everything. You can be anything, but you can't be everything. And I like that. I like the fact that there are so many options, but you still have a very limited budget for those options. So you really have to choose. You have to think. You have to plan. You can't just be sloppy. 5e is sloppy.
You have to be specific.
Yeah, 5e has made us all sloppy players. Like, it's true. We're just sloppy, and I don't really miss it. I've said many times on the server, I don't think I could ever play in 5e again as a player. I don't think I could ever be a player in 5e again knowing that I could just play in Pathfinder or Cyberpunk or one of these other systems. Like, my time, and this is a terrible advertisement for my own games, my time is too valuable to spend it playing 5th edition D&D. Like, I'm sorry, but like, it is. Like, I'll finish the 5e games that I started. I might even run another 5th edition game. I'm tempted to run the Phandelver thing. I'm tempted to run Planescape when I'm done with my current D&D projects. But like, I would never play in those games. Like, never. Like, it's just not engaging to me at all. Like, it's just, I just don't derive any real fun, especially now knowing that I could be spending that time in a system that I do enjoy, in a system that gives me a feeling of satisfaction when I make a good play, and it makes me cautious about making a bad decision. There's risks, there's consequences, there's weight to the things that I do. It'd be very hard for me to enjoy a 5e game ever again as a player. So, I don't know. I hope that I can keep running 5e games that are enjoyable for my current players, because I want to finish those campaigns up. But yeah, I mean, I'm only, like 5 or 6 sessions into each of the Alkenstar games, and every week that I learn more and I feel more comfortable with the rules and I learn more about the system, I realize, like, this is just, it's just better. It's just better.
Honestly, once you get more comfortable with the rules, then you'll be more willing to, like, okay, you want to do this cool thing. I know that there's this skill, this action, probably part of the basic action macros that is going to be perfect for what you're trying to do. Can your character do that thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it really just comes down to, I've been playing 5e since beta testing, and I am intimately familiar with the system. You could come at me and say, I want to try to do this, and I will know exactly how you should do it. And if there isn't a rule for it, I know the best way to do it anyways. Like, I'm that intimately familiar with 5e. I don't have that intimacy with Pathfinder, and I feel like my players, especially the ones that were brave enough to play in these Alkenstar games, are there's got to be a feeling of disappointment here, because I keep saying, no, we're following the rules. I keep saying, no, let me look that up real quick, because I want to build a strong foundation of knowledge and an intimacy with the system before I start going off on my own, before I start just saying, hey, you know what, that sounds cool, you could do that. Like, I want to understand why the rules are the way they are. Why are we doing it this way? Why is it like that? What are we supposed to do in this situation? And I hope that my Pathfinder players understand why I'm running the games the way I am, and that they stick with it, because the further into the campaign we get and the more comfortable I personally become with the rules, that's when we're going to start busting out all that fun stuff. You know what I mean? All that rule of cool, all that, the first rule of Pathfinder, ignore the rules that make it not fun for your group, change the rules to make it fun for your group. That's when we start marching that stuff out. But I don't think it's fair to the system to just immediately be like, we'll just do it this way. You know what I mean? Like, and that's my big pushback, right? Where everyone's like, you don't have to be like this. You don't have to do it that way. You don't have to follow that rule. You could change it. You could rule it this way. I jokingly act like I don't know that. I'm like, show me proof. I need to see the screenshot. I need to know for real I'm allowed to do that. Like, I know you're allowed to do that. I just don't think it is fair to the system for me to come in with like 12 years of 5e experience and then only have like 6 months of Pathfinder experience and just start changing everything. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
For
I
sure.
don't think it's fair to the players who have never played Pathfinder before to have me come in there and start changing things up on them. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
I'm looking forward to when I get a chance to play a Pathfinder game.
It is very fun. It is very fun. And I hope that, like, the last session that we had with Sunset was fun. It wasn't like Pathfinder fun. I was telling Stone this the day after. I was like, it wasn't that it was like fun in a Pathfinder way, like tactical combat and, you know, clever decisions and being smart and rolling really well and things like that. It was fun in a tabletop way. Like, we had a good time with the story and with the adventure and with the world and with the characters, and that was transcendent of the rules, right? And like, I think a big part of that is we're getting more and more comfortable with the rules, and now the rules are less on our minds and they're less a focus of like the game as they become more and more, you know, we become more and more comfortable, and we're able to then kind of enjoy the story and focus on the story and focus on the characters and the interactions they're having. And I think that the more we play Pathfinder 2, the more we're really going to start to understand that, yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, there's a lot of rules. But, like, once those become your foundation, you're able to, like, experience and build stories with a stronger foundation than you could ever have with 5e.
And I watched that episode, and what I saw from it was like, okay, the idea that there is a system in Pathfinder, you've done it, I think, twice now with the whole point. You do stuff and you get points, and those points are going to affect the outcome of this thing. Well, that's a system and a rule that's in Pathfinder now. And so if there's ever a point where the characters come up with a crazy idea that, you know, doesn't really fit with a combat encounter, a tactical combat encounter, but they are really into this idea, maybe you can now use this point system that you've done with other things. Like, that's still a raw rule in Pathfinder. It may not be what you would normally do in this situation, but if the characters had the flexibility of doing that crazy idea, go ahead and do it. And again, that has to come with you being comfortable enough in the rules to be able to start doing stuff like that. But like, that's the point. Like, you know, it has a lot of rules, and they're all very specific. But at the end of the day, those rules are there to help you, try and tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
And yes, follow those rules, but like, you don't necessarily have to follow them in the exact same order that, you know, they're presented to you. You know, take a piece of that, take that role and put it in this line, and then put the other role in that one. They're still themselves, and they're still working together. They don't necessarily have to be in the same order.
Yeah. Also, what occurred to me today, and I can't believe it took till today for this to occur to me. A while back, I think during 2020 pandemic, I ordered Dark Matter through a Kickstarter, right? It's 5e, I don't know. It's 5e Starfinder, essentially. And I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm going to eventually run like a Voltron game. It's going to be so cool. Everyone's going to have mechs. Amazing. But like, by the time it finally was made, because of delays with, you know, global shipping and, you know, just the world falling apart, right? I had moved on, right? I had moved on. And so I have it, and I don't know what to do with it. I got the starter box. I haven't even opened it. And it's exhausting to think about trying to learn their version of 5e just so that I can run that game, right? But with the revised rules for Pathfinder 2, they are homogenizing or combining or whatever they're doing. They're unifying the two rule sets. So Starfinder and Pathfinder will have the same rules. So, like, if you feel like running a sci fantasy adventure, you don't have to learn a different game. You just run the sci fantasy adventure. And if you want to switch back and run a fantasy adventure, you can just run your fantasy adventure. And that, to me, is like a hidden perk of continuing to learn and grow in the Pathfinder 2 rule set, is I'm not just getting access to one new game, I'm getting access to two new games. You know? Like, that's exciting to me. That's really exciting to me. I loved the vibe and the flavor of Starfinder. I couldn't stand the complexity of the rules. I just felt like it was still too much like Pathfinder 1 for me to enjoy. But I love Pathfinder 2, so if I can play Starfinder and I don't have to learn any new rules, oh my god. That's a big selling point right there as well. So yeah, this is all a very exciting process for me. But my final thing is, because we're almost at time, my final thing is Pathfinder 2 is not for everyone. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say, yeah, man, it's great. I recommend it to everybody. It's so easy and it's so cool. No. No. It took me 3 hours to make my character for the next campaign, the Stolen Fates or whatever. 3 hours to make that character. Maybe there's someone out there that spends 3 hours making a level 11 sorcerer for a D&D campaign. I don't know why it takes them so long. I can't imagine. But, like, it was, like, involved. Like, I was doing math. I had to keep checking with people to be like, what are you doing? And the character's not even finished. Because ultimately, the 5 of us are going to have to compare and contrast our characters and make sure that we're not overlapping in areas and leaving other areas uncovered or whatever. Because, like I said earlier, you're not building a character, you're building a party. You know what I'm saying? And, like, that is not something that everybody wants to do. Like, that is not something that everyone's going to enjoy. The system is very strict. Some people don't want the DM to say, I'm sorry, but you can't climb this fence, because you need 2 hands to climb, and you have a shield in one hand and a sword in the other. And they're going to be like, excuse me? And I go, yeah, sorry, you can't climb the fence this turn. It's like, okay, well, I'll put my shield away and I'll put my sword away. Okay, well, that's 2 of your Pac-Mans right there. And they're like, okay, well, now I'm going to climb the fence, right? It's like, well, the fence is actually 10 feet high, so you might be able to climb to the top of the fence. Let me see that DC 15 skill check. And then they're like, are you fucking serious? It's like, yeah, I'm fucking serious. These are the rules, baby. Like,
yeah, is your character a gecko?
Yeah, exactly. It's just 5e has trivialized all of its own rules to the point that I don't even know why it has rules. And if you want a game to just hang out and play make-believe with your friends, I guess 5e could be that game. I still think there's probably better, simpler systems out there that people have not tried or discovered, that if you really just want to hang out and tell a story and romance your friends' characters and have your OC smooch their OC, I don't think 5e is the game for you either. Honestly.
Go play what is it? Masquerade.
Masquerade, play Fates. Play Fates. There's all sorts of great games out there. Knives in the Dark, I think, is one of them. There's a lot of just
Blades in the Dark, yeah.
Yeah, Blades in the Dark. There's a lot of storytelling games out there if all you really want is to smooch your friend's OC and trash talk the sexy bad guy. Like, that's okay. I don't think 5e needs to be the game for that, you know? If you just want to hang out with your family and kill some goblins, I'm sure there's even easier systems than that. But if you want a game that is traditional D&D, where you fight goblins and you explore and you occasionally throw a fireball, I think that 5th edition D&D, up until level 7, is a great game. I think anyone can play any class, and you can have a great time until level 7, and it's not going to be too stressful for the DM, and it's not going to be too complicated for the players, and I think it's a good game. Again, why did Baldur's Gate not just make it go all the way to 20? Right? Why didn't they make it go all the way to 20? Right?
I mean,
like, yeah,
we were doing like almost usually level 20. I mean, okay,
yeah,
I'm not gonna say anymore.
Yeah, but the game, like the system, never was designed because again they had no goals. It was never designed to take you to level 20. It was never designed to support high level play. No one gave a shit about any of that, and now it's out in the wild. And there's people that are trying to make it work, and it never does. And if it does, it's a lot of work. Don't. You know what I'm saying? Don't. Like, so you just got to be honest with, like, what do you and your friends want, right? If you and your friends are up for the challenge of a very tactical, very rules-heavy system that will allow you to have a strong foundation to build a cool story on top of, Pathfinder 2 is going to do that for you. But, like, it's going to be rough if you got players that don't want to learn these rules, don't want to think about their builds, don't want to think about their teammates, don't want to play with teamwork in mind. It's not their game. It's not their game. Like, it isn't about being an exclusive club. It isn't about trying to make people feel left out. I'm just telling you, this game is not for everyone. It's not everyone's game. It's a great game, and I love it.
Exactly like,
yeah.
If you like, I don't like eating tomatoes. I'm not gonna be upset if somebody says, "Hey, this thing is full of tomatoes." I don't think you're gonna like it.
Right? Yeah. Like.
Yeah.
But the problem that I do see is anytime someone complains about 5e, the Pathfinder kids ride in, and they're like, "Well, you should just play Pathfinder instead." That's not going to solve their problem, guys.
Yeah.
Like, trust me. It's not going to solve. It might work for 1 or 2 out of 10, but I don't think that the majority of 5e players are going to come over to Pathfinder 2 and be like, this is better. I don't think that's going to happen. This is definitely an acquired taste. Anyways. So, that brings us to time. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend. I hope I enjoy the rest of my evening and weekend. I hope I have all 10 of my fingers at the end of the weekend.
I hope you have a much better weekend than you had this week.
It was a terrible week. Oh my god. All right. Anyways, thank you everybody for hanging out in chat. That is these are our opinions. It's not the biblical truth, but this is how we feel about the difference between Pathfinder 2 and 5th edition D&D. This is how I've felt about it, learning the system and playing the system and GMing the system after spending 10, 11, 12 years playing 5e. Your mileage may vary. It's certainly worth giving it a look if you're curious about it. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.